Hi, I'm Aurora and I am an ex-blogger and ex-copywriter hoping to turn fiction writer from the UK, and welcome to my channel. This is my first video, so I thought I would talk about morning pages. Morning pages are from The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I didn't personally get on with it myself, I didn't finish it. Just wasn't for me. I'm not saying don't give it a go at all, you know. I think it's good to give these things a try, you know, otherwise I wouldn't have gone and tried it myself. But yeah, I didn't get on with it. The one thing I have done though is the morning pages, which is 3 pages, longhand, written by hand, and just first thing in the morning, that's what you do. And yeah, it's pretty easy. It's just journaling, but you're putting a limit on what you're writing, which I think is actually really cool idea, especially if, you know, you want to try journaling and you just want to get into it. You know, it's, in many ways, it is really great. I'm sorry I keep touching my face and I don't know why. Anyway, so that said, this is what 18 months of morning pages looks like. So yeah, if we say I am going to recommend them with caveats, but I'll save that till the end of the video. And this is my current notebook, which I am coming up to about halfway through. Each notebook tends to last a few months, which is nice. I use, as you saw, it's a slimline A5, so it's a little bit smaller than A5, but actually not by a lot. And I don't know, they're just my preference. I know I can write in my pucker notebooks. It takes me about half an hour to get it done, which when I was doing things like commuting every day into work was really helpful. So, what have I learned from it? It's really good at battling perfectionism, because I do have that problem. I think a lot of us have that problem, and it stops us from doing things like, I've been meaning to start a YouTube channel for a really long time. I try and film something and then I hated it and was like, no, it's awful and I'm awkward, and I just didn't do it, you know. And then I got a job where I was commuting 3 hours a day and there was no way I was going to end up doing it. Now I'm actually in a position where I can. But yeah, it does really make you put perfectionism to one side. And in the book it's very, you know, it's a lot about dealing with perfectionism as well and just creating, because being creative is not about being perfect, it's just about actually doing it. Although I did find with the morning pages, you were expected to be perfect. And even with being consistent with it, I am consistent, but I'm not perfect. And they kind of wanted perfectionism as well as consistency, which, you know, really for morning pages is kind of the same thing. But, you know, if I'm ill, I don't do my morning pages. I have to be really ill not to do them, but you know, they were kind of my litmus test for if I was capable of going into work. So, you know, if I couldn't get up in the morning and do my morning pages, there was no way I was going into work to write. And, you know, if I'm going down to see my partner, I don't write while I'm there because, you know, I get down there on the Friday night, I have to leave Sunday morning to be able to have any time to prepare myself for the week, the following week. And yeah, I'm not taking that hour out of that very limited time we have to go and write. And same for when he comes up here. That will be changing soon. I'm actually moving in a couple of weeks. I don't know when I'm going to post this. I might already be there by the time you're seeing this. Anyway, so yeah, really good for battling perfectionism, because you're just writing words on a page. If it's in your head, you just put it on the page, that is it, and you just keep going. There's no editing, and that's the nice thing about handwriting, is it does stop that inner editor that really gets in your way as you write. And I've had this before, and I had it when I was a copywriter, where I was so like in my own head with the perfectionism and why isn't this perfect the first time round, that so there was times where I'd just freeze and I couldn't write. But then it was like, just put anything down. And you know, obviously when you are doing it on a computer, you've got the backspace and you can make it all go away, and you can't do that with the morning pages. So it did really help with that. The next thing was, it is supposed to help you be more creative. That is kind of the main thing with morning pages. And yeah, it actually really did. I was kind of shocked. And it also, because I was doing it more or less every day. I didn't do it for Nano actually. During NaNoWriMo last year, which I didn't do through the website, I more did like a 50k in 30 days, which I did all with a bullet journal and things like that, which I'll be doing again this year, and I will do a video on that, so I'm not going to go too into it. But yeah, I did take November off and a little bit of December because I was really burnt out by the end of it. But yeah, I did find that I was more creative, but I could also see the times where in the year where I was more creative, which now I've actually started going back and looking at my old journals. I would see the start of the year not so much, and as we went through spring it would start to creep in, like the new ideas and things like that. Titles, stories, plots, characters, little bits would just pop up here and there, stuff that I could use. And that would sort of snowball through summer, which is great for when it comes to November and you want to write 50,000 words in a month of a story. You've actually got all these ideas to look back at, and yeah, just seeing that, like, oh yeah, this is where I'm most creative, and then I go quiet and it's fit. So I was beating myself up less for not being creative all the time, because I saw that it was going in waves rather than just like a consistent thing, and that's cool too. And it was really good for me to see that. But it did also have me being more creative because I was constantly engaging that part of my brain, and there is like a science behind it where, you know, when you are actually physically writing by hand, and I know a few people say, oh, but I hate my handwriting. Don't. Your handwriting will improve if you're actually writing all the time as well. And I've noticed, because I always had decent handwriting, but my handwriting has gotten better. And part of that is I found pens that I liked, and I actually found I was using the Unipin fine lines, and this is a 0.5, and they actually come in a pack of 3. I get a 0.1, a 0.3 and a 0.5. And they actually last really well, because the pens I was using before were just not lasting, and I was like, I can't afford to keep buying pens. But I found these, I can find them fairly cheap as a rule, and they last really well. Like, this has gone on for a while now. So yeah, but it did have me being more creative, because I was engaging that part of my brain and constantly doing it every single day. And if you do something every single day, you get better at it. Okay, I wasn't doing it every single day. Okay, you know, every week, every now and again I'd have a weekend I didn't write, and you know, we get sick, we're human. You know, even computers get viruses. There'd be days I wouldn't write then. But that was okay as well, you know, it was like, but I know I'm coming back to it. And I tend to not take more than 2 days off tops from writing. And yeah, I was starting to see ideas and stuff that I could then take out of the morning pages and put into my writing notebook, where I'd keep all my ideas, and I keep that on me pretty much everywhere I go. If, you know, if I'm out and about, it's in my handbag. If I'm going away for the weekend, it goes in my weekend bag. It does really go everywhere, and it's really helped as well. So the other thing is that you do just become a better writer. Again, it's that consistency. If you do something every day, you get better at it. And I was like noticing that I was a decent writer by this point. You know, I was blogging regularly. I actually wasn't a copywriter when I started my morning pages. I made the decision to start, just to completely sidetrack. I'd been going through a bit of a rough time. I was mentally, I wasn't doing that great. I was really tired. I wasn't loving my job. And I took that one on knowing I didn't want to stay in it. It was a marketing job. But, you know, I thought I'm going to start doing this. And it actually did really help my mental health as well. Because whatever was going on in my head, whatever was bugging me, I was getting out. I was getting onto the page. That if things are really dark for you, go and get proper help. This is not it. You know, there's only so much a notebook and a pen can do. But it helped through those times. But, you know, because I was writing every day as well, I was just getting better as a writer. I think if I was to go back and look at my first page and where I'm at now, I'd see a difference in my writing. You know, well, I was a copywriter. I could see a difference between the first copy I wrote for that company and where I was at by the end. And that's only, you know, the space of a year. Because I fell in love with my partner, we decided we were going to live together, and I handed in my notice, and now I'm going to go and try and do this for a year. So yeah, anyway, I've kind of waffled a bit and sidetracked, but yeah, I do say it does make you a better writer. Doing anything consistently will just make you better at it, whether you're learning a language, whether you are drawing, whether you are, do photography, anything. And my first video here is not going to be amazing, but I'm really hoping that, filming every week, I'm going to get better at this. So yeah, consistency will make you better at something. And yeah, it has, morning pages, I do recommend them. This is actually my second attempt at doing them. The first time I tried doing them, I was working as a barista, and yeah, it was just not possible, because I realised very quickly getting up at 3:45 to write was just, to have enough time to do all my writing, then get ready for work, and then get to work, because I was getting into work at like 6 in the morning, and I had to walk into work. Thankfully it wasn't too far, but in the winter that's not fun. So very quickly I realised that was not the right time for me. But I'm glad I tried it that time. And yeah, when I came back, when I was then doing a 9 to 5, it was a lot easier. So, if you are in a part of your life where you can get up in the morning and add it to your routine, I think it's great. And look, do it for a month. If you discover you hate it, let's face it, if you are watching this, you are probably a creative, and you probably have a massive pile of unused notebooks. Grab one of those notebooks, grab a pen, and just give it a go. It does, it makes a big difference. And yeah, don't put pressure to be perfect and to do it every single day. If you need to take a day off, take a day off. If you need to take 2 days off, take 2 days off. If you discover that it's just too much pressure on you and you just can't do it, you're not comfortable, it's not the right time to do it. It is always something you can come back to and have another go at. That was the other thing, that I was like, yeah, I'm not ready to do this now, but it is something I want to try again in the future. Now, they are touted in the book as this like magical creative thing that's going to give you your creativity back. And yeah, maybe. I do feel like I've been more creative in the past 18 months since I started doing this. I don't know if part of that is I was working in a media team with other creatives and that helped. I don't know if it was the fact that I was a few months into doing this, I was then like travelling 3 hours a day to get to and from work, and I was reading a lot more, and that probably helped. But I do think that somewhere in there, because I was writing what was in my head, and there were snippets of ideas, there was things that I could pull out and use in the future, that yeah, I think it did make a difference. I might not have actually had those things if it hadn't have been for my morning pages. So anyway, it got a little waffly, I got a little rambly, but I really hope you enjoyed this video, and please, if you did enjoy it, give us a like, give me a subscribe, because obviously I am a brand new channel and algorithms don't like new channels that much because we don't have a lot of content and we get kind of hidden. So yeah, I'd really appreciate that. And I am on social media. I'm on TikTok, I am on Blue Sky, not that I've used it in months, and I am on Instagram, which I am trying to use a bit more. I am most active on TikTok, so yeah, give me a follow there. I will link them all down below. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Take care and lots of love. Bye!